Top 3 builds to use and why. Now we are, about a week into Year 7 Season 1 and the Battle for Brooklyn DLC. The game is right now 90% off on all stores. We have the game free on Game Pass. We just had a free-to-play weekend, and the DLC is only $15. So with that, we have seen an invasion of new and returning players joining the community, and all of them are asking the same questions. What build should I use and why? What damage build, what skill build, what tank build, what should I be using right now during the Battle for Brooklyn DLC and Year 7 Season 1 Crossroads? And, well, this is the video for you. Here we go. What's going on, YouTube? Kamikazevondoom here with another Division 2 build video, and shout out to the DoD Disciples of Doom. And in today's build video, I'm going to show you a DPS build, a skill build, and a tank build to use right now, both solo and in a team. It doesn't matter. So, with all that said and done, sit back, relax, grab that popcorn, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. But let's go ahead and start with the DPS build, and then we'll jump into the other two. So, starting off with a DPS build, and I highly recommend you try Striker's Battle Gear. Now, the reason for that is Strikers is still the #1 DPS set in the game, and it still reigns supreme. There is no other set that hits quite like Strikers, and the Pestilence is really a top-tier weapon, so why not put those two together and watch everything just go down? It's really fun. Now, what I did with this build combination is I made a Pestilence build with 128% weapon handling. So if you go to your stats, you can see right here, I am already at 78% weapon handling, but with the named chest piece, the Vedmetsia, this is the named Petrov chest with perfect braced. And we all know that in the Battle for Brooklyn DLC, there are a lot of close quarters combat. There's a lot of enemies that are spread out, and you need to get cover. So why not be able to take full advantage of your build while you are in cover? So with this build, what I did is I went straight DPS. I went all weapon handling, and then crit chance wherever I could after that. But then having that 78% weapon handling right off the bat, and then that additional 50% whenever we're in cover, this Pestilence reloads ridiculously fast. Not only that, but we do have the Gunner specialization that makes every third reload even quicker. So, starting off at the top, we do have that Gunner specialization. And like I said, it does give you that extra reload speed every third reload, but you also get armor on kill, you get bonus armor every time you pop an armor kit, and you get RPM on kill all at the same time. It's pretty cool. Not only that, but you could use the Banshee Pulse if you wanted to. That is the special pulse that is linked to this specialization. And if you wanted to, you could also use the Riot Foam Grenade. All of those are linked to the Gunner specialization. Now, as far as the weapons, I am only using the Pestilence, and for each of these builds, I will only be using the primary weapon. That way you can try to tailor make this as much as you can to your liking and add whatever other weapons you want to the build. So for the first build, DPS, Pestilence all day. Now for the secondary and sidearm, these are just going to be placeholders. So this is my Slayer, and here is my backup boomstick with Preservation. But the star of the show for this first build is the Pestilence. Now, the Pestilence, over the last year or so, it has been given 3 buffs total. It has been given a RPM buff, it has been given a base damage buff, and it has been given a faster reload. So the reload used to be into like the 3 and 4 seconds, and now we can get it into the 1 to 2 second range. So right here, you can see the reload is at 2.4 seconds, but that's without the perfectly braced, and it gets even quicker as we go. But as far as the Pestilence, this is the exotic LMG that comes with damage to targets at a cover, get that damage to armor for that bottom attribute. And then the entire reason for this exotic is the talent Plague of the Outcasts. If it wasn't for this talent, the weapon would not be as good as it is, but this talent is ridiculously strong. So, the talent is called Plague of the Outcast. Hits will apply a damage over time debuff. Now, this damage over time debuff is linked to your weapon damage, which is fitting because we are running an all damage build. Now, crits and headshots and things like that will not affect this talent, neither will status effects, only weapon damage. Now, once you kill an enemy while they have this debuff active, it will transfer all of the stacks to the next enemy and then to the next enemy, so on and so forth. So as long as you can get your stacks up on the first enemy, they'll keep transferring over and stacking up higher and higher until everything is dead around you. It's a really cool weapon, and with all of the buffs and everything, this thing is perfect to use right now, not only in the DLC, but for Year 7 Season 1. Now, as far as the build itself, it is a little bit different, and that's because of this chess piece. Now, the chess piece is a named chess piece that you can only unlock through the field research. So let me go ahead and show you what that is before I actually break down this build. That way you know exactly how to farm for this build. Now, for the striker pieces, it's pretty easy. Just either craft them or go to countdown and farm them really quick. For the gloves, they are contractor's gloves, so just farm for either Petrov or for gloves. But for the Vedmetsia chest, this is from the gunner specialization. So the 3 additional specializations being technician, gunner, and firewall, all 3 of these have field research. And once you complete these field research objectives, you get different rewards. So for the gunner field research, under the second reward, you get this chess piece, or at least you get the blueprint, and then you can craft it yourself. Now, as far as the gloves, you can get the gloves blueprint from Descent or from those reconstructed caches. So you can see right here, contractor's gloves. For the strikers, you can craft the mask. Let's see here. You can craft the mask. You can craft the backpack. Boop-a-doop-a-doo. Yep. You can craft the knee pads. Trying to see if you can craft this entire build. I think you can. There's the knee pads, and then what? The holster? Oh, I think the holster's the only thing missing. And, yeah, so there's no holster. So you can actually craft almost the entire build. You would just have to get the pestilence, and you would have to get the striker holster. But everything else you can craft. It's pretty cool. Now, going back to this chess piece, what makes this chess piece so special is that talent Perfect Braced. So while you are in cover, you get weapon handling of 50%, and that's really strong for an LMG build because that helps your accuracy, that helps your stability, that helps your weapon swap, that helps your reload, all of those things. So Perfect Braced is a really good combination here because you get weapon handling on everything from this build. So for the 2-piece Petrov, so we are running Petrov gloves and Petrov chest piece. So for the 2-piece Petrov, you get weapon handling. I have weapon handling as an attribute, and I get weapon handling from the talent. Not only that, but the striker's 2-piece also gives you weapon handling. So we're getting weapon handling from both of our sets, our brand set and our gear set. Now going back to this chest piece, name Petrov, so you get LMG damage and weapon handling. We have weapon damage for the core, crit chance, and weapon handling with a crit chance mod. Like I said, the entire build is weapon handling and then crit chance wherever you can add it. The other piece of Petrov are the gloves. Now these are the named gloves called contractor's gloves. Now what makes these gloves so special is that attribute damage to armor. Now we also have weapon handling on here with weapon damage for that core. And again, it is Petrov, so you get the LMG and weapon handling. Now, going to the strikers. Let's go with the backpack because this gives you that extra talent. So the backpack increases the damage per stack from 0.65% to 0.9%. Now, going up to the Striker's gear set bonuses, we have weapon handling for the 2-piece, rate of fire for the 3-piece, and then Striker's gamble for that 4-piece talent. Now, Striker's gamble, weapon hits will increase your weapon damage by 0.9%, stacking up to 100 times. So you get 90% weapon damage from the Strikers. Not only that, but you do lose stacks. So you lose 1 stack per second when you're between 0 and 50 stacks, and you lose 2 stacks per second if you're between 50 and 100. But again, everything is weapon handling with crit chance wherever you can put it. So for the backpack, we have weapon damage for the core, weapon handling with a crit chance mod. For the mask, we have weapon damage for the core, weapon handling, and crit chance for the mod. For the holster, you have weapon damage and weapon handling. And finally, for the knee pads, weapon damage and weapon handling. Pretty cool. Now, everything, like I said, is all weapon handling to help out your pestilence. And as soon as you get into cover, it's even better. Now, to keep the enemies off your back, you do have a decoy that you can throw out away from you and a scanner pulse to see where everyone is coming from. Now, finishing up with the stats, and then I'll show you some gameplay. The Pestilence is sitting at 130k base damage with a 40% crit chance, 45 crit damage, 85 headshot, and 14 armor damage. But don't forget about the damage to targets at a cover. But look at these numbers right here from the weapon handling. We have accuracy of 98%, stability 98%, weapon swap 78, weapon handling 78, 88% reload. And this is all before I get in cover and get that extra weapon handling from the talent. Now, going to the offensive tab, we are sitting at 130% all weapons damage bonus and 40% LMG damage bonus. So every time we're using the Pestilence, we're sitting at 170% damage bonus total. For the gear talents, we do have Striker and that Striker backpack. We do have Perfect Braced on the chest piece. For the defensive tab, we are at 813k armor, but that is with a little bit of expertise. We have just over 81k armor on kill with the max health of 363k. Looking at the explosive and hazard protection, the explosive resistance is at 10%. The hazard, though, is at 17.5, but just so you know, that's because of my my passive modifiers here. So I get 7.5 hazard for every stamina tier, so that's increasing my hazard just a little bit. But that is the Pestilence DPS build, Striker, double Petrov with Perfect Braced. This is a lot of fun. Let me just show you what the reload looks like in the firing range, and then I'll show you the gameplay. And after the gameplay, we'll come back and we'll talk about the next build. But this is going to be the top DPS build that I would recommend you use right now. But check this out. So this is from, what, over 25 meters away, right? So check it. It's a laser beam. Oh, yeah? And you see that reload, right? You can see how far away. See how it's not moving at all. And then check the reload. Look at that. Look at that reload. Pretty good, right? But hey, this is just at the firing range. Let me show you some gameplay, and we'll be right back. Don't forget to hit that like. What are you waiting on? All right, come on. Roll that gameplay. Bia! All right, so for the first part of our DPS build, this is the all-red Pestilence Striker with 128 weapon handling. Check this out. Look at that reload. Oh, hold on. And then I can throw out the decoy. Ooh. There we go. Bye-bye. Hit that reload. And there we go. And then what you're doing... There's an elite patrol done right there. But what you're doing is you're staying in cover to keep all that weapon handling. And then check out that reload. There we go. And we're stacked up on our striker. Look at that. GG's. Oh, and we're doing a propaganda broadcast. Jeez. Okay. We'll do the propaganda broadcast as well. But just remember that this is with the pestilence weapon handling. All right, let's see here. Just stay in cover. There we go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I am loving. Oh yeah. Oh no! It drops the key way out there. But I mean, you can see I'm doing open world heroic, and this is just a cakewalk. We are running an all red build, and I don't even have a revive hive or anything. But as long as you stay in cover, you get all of that weapon handling. I mean, this is ridiculously fun. I will admit. I mean, look at this. Oh yeah, and oh come on, throw a decoy. That way they stand up. There you go. Oh, they didn't stand up. Booyah.
Manual override required.
There you have it. Oh wait, we have 2 more. Okay. Oh, it still threw the grenade? Wow. There you go. Alright, so we did a elite patrol and we did a propaganda broadcast. We'll do the first part of this control point, and then I'll switch builds. Because if we already did a elite patrol and a propaganda broadcast, we don't need to keep doing more and more and more and more, you know? I mean, you can see the build is very fun. Very easy. I dig it. Oh!
Serious trauma.
And then I get hit with a freaking rocket right off the rip. Alright, let's go. Yeah. I don't even want to call in the, Oh, snap, dude. That was a really good rocket. That was a really good rocket. I'm not gonna lie. Jump down, bro. Thank you. Oh! Yo, those rockets are really good. I like it. There we go. Alright. What I like about those rockets is that they shoot it in front of you, so they're not even like properly like shooting it at you. They know exactly where you're gonna go. It's pretty crazy. All right, go, jump down. Ooh, yeah. All right, let's find the next box. And then what I'll do is after I take this over, I can switch builds, and then I can show you gameplay of me defending this with a different build. Aha. Oh, there it is. Oh, snap, right behind me.
Serious trauma detected.
That hurt. Shot me in the back. Or should I say they spawned in my back. It's all good. All the turrets are down. GG's. There you go. Booyah! And that... Oh, and we have a freaking... And we have a resource convoy. Here, I'll take them out too. I mean, this DPS build is very good for the Battle for Brooklyn DLC. You can use this, obviously, in the normal game all you want. But the whole point is what's the best 3 builds to use right now, especially with the DLC. And you can see, I mean, this build is just ridiculously fun. And they're just going to keep spawning right there, so easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Oh yeah, that's it. All right. Let me go clear that, and we will be done. Moving on to the next build. And back at it again, but this time with a skill build. So this is going to be your second build, and then we'll show you some gameplay. But here is the top skill build that I would recommend you try out right now for both Battle for Brooklyn and Year 7 Season 1. And this is a status effects build with a little bit more damage on the Vile Mask than you would, typically see. So starting off at the top, we have the Demolitionist specialization. Now this is vital for my build combination, and I'll let you know why, I guess, right now. Because the Demolitionist specialization gives you explosives damage. Now I am putting that with One Piece China Light because China Light also gives you explosives damage. And the reason why we are doing that is because of the Vile Mask. Now it says that the Vile Mask will deal a damage over time debuff whenever you apply a status effect. However, it says that that damage is equal to half of your concussion grenade, and then it's increased by however much status effects you have. Well, if you increase your concussion grenade damage, then you will also increase your Vile damage. So instead of having a typical, 1.2 million grenade or something like that, we have a 1.8 million damage grenade. So that means that the Vile damage over time debuff starts out at 900k damage just from the concussion. And then it is increased with whatever status effects you have. So we have status effects all across the board on every item. Status effects everywhere, even on the Vile Mask. So we increased the Vile damage, and then we just go with typical status effects. So whether it be, the Jammer, you could go Burn Sticky, you could go Stinger Hive, you could go Seeker Mines, you could go whichever way you want. It doesn't matter. That's up for you to, tailor make to your own playstyle. But I highly recommend the Jammer and the Burn Sticky, but that's just me personally. The reason for that is I like the burn to transfer over to different enemies. It does a lot of damage, but it also does a lot of Vile damage as well. Now the Jammer Pulse, a little bit different here. I use the Jammer Pulse to spread the Vile damage to all the enemies that I can't see, because the range on the Jammer is 40 meters. So that's a really big radius for that Jammer Pulse, and then I can get everyone on a status effect around me, and then everyone gets all of that Vile damage. Now, just to show you what I mean by the Vile damage and the difference between like a status effects build and an explosives damage, status effects build, let me show you really quick. So running down here, let me first show you what a Vile tick would look like with my explosive damage build, okay? And then we'll go back to a status, and I'll show you how much more damage we are doing right now. So just using a Jammer, you can see right here, I'm hitting between 94k and 84k. And that is with the explosives damage increase. Now, if I were to just switch back to my typical, status effects version with the Firewall and Electrique, the 94 to 84k will change completely. So watch this. And now it's 71k. So I am losing 13k per tick at minimum. And that is using an all status build. So that's why we are using the explosives damage to increase that Vile damage. Now that you have seen the damage differences between the explosive version and the all status effects version, that's why I am using it. Because I want more damage on the Vile Mask, and I don't need as much damage on my actual skills. are for the status effects. And that's mainly because for the Battle for Brooklyn DLC, you are going up against a lot of cleaners. And even though you're doing damage with your burn, it's not nearly as much as you would with other enemies. So what I did is I kind of dialed down the burn damage a little bit, and then I dialed up the vial damage. That way, it doesn't matter what status effects I apply, as long as I get that vial to start ticking away, it really helps not only crowd control, but it helps take out multiple enemies at once, and then that way you don't have to rely solely on your skills to do all of the damage for you. So that was basically the long way of saying it, but let me just go through the build really quick for you. Demolitionist, this gives you the explosives damage. For the weapons, I am only using the capacitor, but I do have the Slayer here and the card custom. Now remember, the card custom, that +1 skill tier, that only works if you have the weapon in your hands. So if you do not have the weapon in your hands, it doesn't work. So we're not even really using this for the build at all. I'm just using the capacitor. But again, if you want, you can switch these weapons to whatever it is that fits your playstyle, and you're good to go. But the star of the show for this build is going to be the capacitor. The reason for that is this thing gets more weapon damage the more skill tiers you have, and the more you shoot enemies, the more skill damage you have. So it kind of works both ways. You get more weapon damage and you get more skill damage. Pretty cool. Not only that, but this is the only assault rifle in the game that gives you armor damage and damage to targets at a cover on the same weapon. Pretty wicked. This is a really good weapon to use. Highly recommended. It's one of my top tier weapons to use right now in the game. And just put it together and you'll love it. So capacitor for your main, demolitionist for your specialization, and then for the build, we are using 4-piece Eclipse Protocol with the Vial Mask and 1-piece China Light. Now that 1-piece China Light does have Creeping Death on here. Now the reason why I went with Creeping Death is because of the Vial Mask. The Vial Mask does not work until you apply a status effect. So Creeping Death, what this does is if you apply a status effect to one enemy, it will then apply it to all enemies within an 8-meter radius. So say I get one of them on a pulse, it will then spread to all the other enemies around them with that same pulse, and then it will apply that vial damage over time debuff. And that's really where the build goes. You want to get everything on a status, get the ticks going, finish them off with the weapon, and if that doesn't work, hit them with the sticky. Very simple. Now, as far as the Eclipse Protocol, the 2-piece bonus gives us status effects, which we want. The 3-piece gives us skill haste and hazard. Both of those are very good for us. And the 4-piece, that indirect transmission. Now, I did find this part a little bit more difficult with the Battle for Brooklyn, just because the enemies seem to spread out a lot. So you have to catch the enemies when they're close together. That way you can hit them with the Eclipse Protocol, that Creeping Death, and then get all the status to spread. But not only that, using the chess piece, it also gives you the extra talent Proliferation. And what this does is it increases that range to 15 meters, and it refreshes your overall status to 75%. Pretty cool. Now, as far as the Eclipse attributes for everything, it's going to be skill tier and status for everything. I'll have skill haste wherever I can put it, but it's going to be a status effects build, just so you know. So for the chess piece here, we have skill tier, status, and skill haste. For the holster, we have skill tier and status. For the knee pads, we have skill tier and status. And for the gloves, again, skill tier and status. Now, I've already explained multiple times why I'm using the China Light, but here's one more. So the China Light 1-piece gives you explosives damage. That helps out your Vial Mask. We have skill tier for the core, status effects, and skill damage for the attributes with a skill haste mod. And again, I have Creeping Death on here to spread that status effects even more. So we're spreading the status effects with the Eclipse Protocol, and we're spreading the status effects with the Creeping Death. So 2 different ways of spreading status. We are dealing status with our skills, and we are dealing extra damage with our weapon and our exotic mask. which segues us to the mask. Here's the Vile Mask. You get a skill tier and status from here, and also Hazard. So you get Hazard from Eclipse, and you get Hazard from the Vile Mask. Not only that, but we do have Skill Haste for the mod, and that talent Toxic Delivery. So every time you apply status effects to any enemy, it will also apply a damage over time debuff. It deals the same damage as half of your concussion, and then it is increased by however much status effects you have. Now, because of this build combination, we have 15, 25, 35, 45, 55, 65. We have 75% status effects on the build with 25% explosives damage. Now, as far as the skills, use whatever skills you want as long as they deal a status. It doesn't matter. Just make sure it deals a status. For me, I'm using the Burn Sticky, and I am using the Jammer Pulse for the gameplay. Now, finishing up with the stats, this is for the Capacitor. We're sitting at 124k weapon damage, 22 crit chance, 75 crit damage, and 75 headshot with that armor, that damage armor, and damage to targets out of cover. There you go. Now, for the offensive tab, we are sitting at 85% all weapons damage bonus and 30% assault rifle damage bonus. So every time we're using the Capacitor, we are sitting at 115% damage bonus total. For the gear talents, we do have Creeping Death with Proliferation on that chest piece for Eclipse Protocol, and the Toxic Delivery on the Vile Mask. We have base armor of 827k, we have max health at 363, and that 10% explosive resistance due to our watch level. Now, because of Eclipse and Vile, we're actually at 57.5% hazard, which is really cool for this build. I never really thought about increasing the hazard, but it does it right there for you. Pretty wicked. But the 10% is due to my watch. And here's my disclaimer for all my build videos. I am at watch level 13,194, which means all these boxes are maxed out 50 of 50. If you are at or above shade level 1,000, you can copy and paste my build and get the same numbers, excluding the expertise. But if you are below shade level 1,000, some of these boxes are not going to be maxed out, so some of your numbers might be a little bit lower. It's okay. Don't freak out. It's still a great build to use, I promise. Just put it together and let me know what you think. But that is the skill build. It is a status build through and through, but then I ran Battle for Brooklyn and I found out that the burn was not really working too well for me. So I went with more explosives damage, and this is the perfect combination. But hey, don't take my word for it. Enjoy the gameplay, and we will be right back with my top tank build to use right now. Here we go. All right, so same deal, except for this time I will be using my skill build. So you can see here, a little bit of skill build action. So first we did the DPS build. Now we're doing the skill build, and then we'll switch over to my tank build. But what I did here is I switched up my old status effects build. I went more explosive damage because we are going up against more cleaners than normal. And the cleaners are, they're not too phased from the fire. So what I did is I went with more explosives damage. And then that way, no matter what status effect I do, the Vile Mask will actually do more damage. So I'm trying to do it that way, and it seems to be working very well. I dig it a lot. Now, you can use this solo, you can use it in a group. I'm obviously going to show you solo gameplay open world heroic for the Battle for Brooklyn DLC. And then we will jump over to our tank build, which is going to be a little different. I know a lot of people like the Heartbreaker, but we're not going with Heartbreaker this time. And I'll explain why here in a little bit. But first, let's do this control point. Here we go.
Reinforcements en route.
Oh, I missed. That sucked. And just automatically shooting me in the back. Got him. Oh, there's no one else close enough? Okay. I'm hitting them for 94K a tick. Woo! I am getting shot in the back like crazy, though. So let's try to keep them away from my back. There we go. The status has not been long enough, or the status has not been far enough to spread. There we go. Yeah, you see how all the enemies are spread out just enough to where none of them are transferring, so very good for me to show this build at its most vulnerable, I guess, because I can't get any of these statuses to connect. We'll be alright, though. We got this. Yeah, I have yet to... Sucks. I have yet to get one of them to transfer over to a different enemy. Alright, that one's down. Cleaner. Oh, that one transferred over. Nice. Go back this way. But yeah, you can see my vials hitting for 94 per tick. I mean, that's pretty damn nice. There we go. It's all about the spread. There it is. Oh, they're spawning across the way. Oh, I missed. Oh, no, I missed. With the whiff. Yeah, that thing was crazy. Holy moly. Gotcha. Yeah, there we go. We got the boss. GG's. Oh, behind me again. Where? Where was that? Behind me. Where? Oh, over there. How did you shoot me from over there? What? What was that? Get out of here with that. Come on. That was crazy. There we go. Well, that's using the skill build. So we've done DPS, we have done skill. Now let's jump over to the tank build. As soon as this guy will let me donate. There we go. What, you don't want my food, water, and freaking components? Come on. All right, there we go. Moving on to the tank. And finally, the last build of the video, my best tank build, or my top tank build to use right now. I would typically say, you know, use like a Umbra tank or a Heartbreaker tank, something like that. But I have been getting requests for weeks now about Ongoing Directive. And with the Battle for Brooklyn DLC and running this either solo and or with a group, the Ongoing Directive is clutch. It's really, really strong, even in a tank build, because of all that extra amplified damage to go with every other, you know, buff that you get for your build. It's really strong. I didn't really think about that. I was just running and gunning with Heartbreaker. But as soon as I put this Ongoing Directive build together, I was like, yo, I gotta show people this. So for my tank build, let's go ahead and jump into my Ongoing Directive tank. So here it is. Long story short, it is 4-piece Ongoing Directive, Ridgeways, and Perfectly Wicked. It's a really, really good combination. We are proccing, or we are activating the Ongoing Directive from the chest piece. We are activating it from the pulse, and we are activating it from the weapon. So there's 3 different ways that we are marking the enemies for the Ongoing Directive at all times. So you're able to get your hollow point rounds immediately and keep them forever. As long as you are in combat, you will continuously get these hollow point rounds. But I'm getting a little carried away. Let's start off at the top. Starting with the specialization, I'm using the technician specialization, but for this build combination, you can use whatever it is you want. It doesn't matter. Now, the reason why I was doing that is because I was running the solo. So I had a tier 1 decoy with a tier 1 jammer, and it was working fairly well. I loved it a lot. The damage on this is really high for a tank build. Now, for the weapons, I am only using my primary weapon, the St. Elmo's engine. For the other two, I just have the Slayer here and the card custom. I'll typically have the backup boomstick or the card custom, but it doesn't matter. I am only using the primary weapon, and it is the St. Elmo's engine. This is easily one of the top tier assault rifles in the game and a fan favorite. And that's because it is shocking. Hey-oh. Now, the talent for this exotic AR is, well, it gives you shock ammo. So, the talent is called Actum Est. Shooting an enemy will give you a stack. Once you have 100 stacks and reload your weapon, your entire magazine will then have shock ammo. And that will immediately mark them for ongoing directive. Pretty cool. Now, for the attributes and everything, this thing is fully maxed out with damage to targets at a cover. And then, of course, that shock ammo to help out the ongoing directive. But again, for my secondary and sidearm, these are just placeholders, just so you know. As far as the build itself, this is a tank build, so all blues except for the exotic, because you can't change the exotic. But we are sitting at 1.8 million armor when everything is said and done, and this is a ongoing directive build, so let's start there. So the ongoing directive gear set and all the bonuses we get for this build, we get status effects, which helps out our, well, actually everything. Helps out our bleed, helps out our shock, helps out everything. Next, we have the 3-piece bonus that gives us reload speed that helps out our overall DPS, and that 4-piece bonus, which gives us the talent rules of engagement. So shooting a status-affected enemy will apply a mark, and killing that marked enemy will give you a full clip of hollow point ammo. Now, the hollow point ammo will automatically make them bleed no matter what distance, and it will automatically give you amplified weapon damage of 20%. So you and your allies get amplified damage using this. Now, if you're just solo, okay, you get all the amplified damage. I mean, it really doesn't matter. Either way you squeeze this, you're still going to get good stuff out of it. Now, as far as the ongoing directive sets, I went with crit chance for everything, and then crit damage wherever I could afterwards. Because the St. Elmo's engine already comes with pretty high crit chance, and with the latest modifiers, you can actually get over the crit chance cap. So we're sitting at 62% crit chance on this build. Now, as far as the ongoing directive items, starting with the mask, we have armor for the core, crit chance with a crit damage mod. For the holster, we have armor for the core and crit chance. For the knee pads, we have armor for the core and crit chance. And for the gloves, we have armor for the core and, yep, you guessed it, crit chance. Now, that's the hollow points, right? That's how you get that amplified damage. But that's only half the battle here. The other one is making them bleed even more and getting that extra weapon damage from Perfectly Wicked. So the way we are doing that is with Ridgeway's Pride chest piece. So the Ridgeway's Pride chest piece not only makes your enemy bleed, but it also heals you. So it's called Bleeding Edge, the talent for this exotic. And Bleeding Edge, what this does is it makes all enemies bleed as long as they are within 15 meters of you. So if they're within 15 meters, you shoot them, they bleed. They are then marked for the ongoing directive, and then you get the hollow points. And then the hollow points make them bleed, which marks them, and then you get more hollow points. And then the Ridgeways makes them bleed, which marks them, and then you get more hollow points. You see what I'm getting at here? You could then jam them, which also marks them, and then you get more hollow points. Oh, and you can shock them and mark them and get more hollow points. So this entire build is centered, it's all centered around getting them on a status effect and getting your hollow point ammo. Now, going back to the chest piece, Bleeding Edge, like I said, it makes them bleed, but it also heals you. So it repairs your armor 3 to 48% per second for every enemy that's bleeding around you. So if you have 5 enemies around you bleeding, you get 48% of your armor back every second. It's ridiculously strong. But typically, like I've seen over the years, you're pretty much just going to get between like 1 and 3 enemies bleeding at once, and that's pretty much it. But even then, you're getting up to like 12% of your armor back per second, which is wicked strong. Now, as far as the attributes here, we do have weapon damage, double crit, and a crit damage mod. And that leaves us with the backpack. So I'm using the Anarchist Cookbook just for the extra wicked duration. Now, the Perfectly Wicked, the only thing difference-wise from Wicked to Perfectly Wicked is the duration. You get the same amount of weapon damage, but normal Wicked, let me show you right here, normal Wicked only lasts for 20 seconds, where Perfectly Wicked lasts for 27 seconds. And that 7 seconds does matter. Haha, that's what she said. You know what I mean? Anyways, the Anarchist Cookbook, this is the named Golem gear, so you get status effects, so that helps out your build. You also get status from the ongoing directive. You have double crit here with a crit chance mod and armor for the core, so it's checking off all the boxes you need for this build, and you get more wicked. So, I mean, hey, who doesn't like that? So that actually is the entire build. This is my top tier tank build to use right now in the Battle for Brooklyn DLC or the Year 7 Season 1 Crossroads. As far as the skills, you can use whatever you want, but I'm using the decoy to keep them off of me, and I'm using the jammer to proc the ongoing directive. Going to the stats, this is for the St. Elmo's engine. We're at 87k for the weapon damage, 62 on that crit chance, 108 crit damage, 75 on that headshot. And then don't forget about the health damage and damage to targets at a cover. For the offensive tab, we're sitting at 55% all weapons damage bonus and 30% AR damage bonus. So every time we're using the St. Elmo's engine, we are starting out at 85% damage bonus total. And then you increase it with that Perfectly Wicked, you get them to bleed with the Bleeding Edge, and then you get the ongoing directive to give you hollow points. For the defensive tab, we are actually rounded up to 1.8 million armor. We're sitting at 1.77. We have max health of 363k, and we do have that minimum explosive resistance of 10%. Now that's due to my watch level. We've already done the disclaimer for that. So I'm going to end it there. Here is my tank build. All blues except for the Ridgeway's Pride, giving you 1.8 million armor. Use it with the St. Elmo's engine. You could get them to shock on top of disorient them, you know, jam them, and then make them bleed. All different ways of proccing the ongoing directive. But I hope you enjoy the gameplay and the rest of your day, because that's it for us. We are done with the build breakdown, so all we have left is one more thing of gameplay. So that's it for me. I'm Kamikazevondoom. Take care of yourself. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one, all right? Peace out, and roll that gameplay. For my last trick of the video, or build gameplay, whatever you want to call it, I am going to be using my tank build that I highly recommend that you try out right now. Now, this tank build is utilizing the ongoing directives, so it gives you amplified damage and your teammates amplified damage if you use this in a team. You're also using the St. Elmo's engine, which shocks the enemy and also helps proc the ongoing directive. I have a jammer, which also helps proc the ongoing directive, and I am using the Ridgeway's Pride chess piece to apply a bleed, along with the Anarchist Cookbook, giving me Perfectly Wicked. So everything is working together like a well-oiled machine. Now let's take out this heroic control point, and let's see what we can do. Here we go. I do not remember where these turret boxes are located. Alright, follow the yellow line. Follow the yellow line. I see it. Alright, there's that one. Okay, where's the other one? Follow the yellow line. Right here. There we go. Okay. And I did all of that while my decoy was active. Now for this one, I'm actually going to call in the reinforcements. I'm I'm gonna take over this entire control point. Oh,
Detected.
of course I get put on burn the second I do that, so that's cool. Very good. That purple burn too. Oh wow. And then he got me with the purple burn through the window. Very nice. Very cleaners of you. There we go. Yeah. Oh, and we have a elite convoy coming, so that's good. We have a elite convoy. That's good for the soul. Yeah, he's hurt. Where are these enemies at? Oh, there's one below me. Yeah. You can see, I mean, we're doing some pretty nice damage for a tank build. I mean, this is a full-on tank build. Everything besides the exotic is blue.
Convoy nearby.
There we go. About sick of the way these Brooklyn NPCs, they space out like very, very far apart. More so than I feel like it's normal. I mean, they're all like, I don't know, good 15 meters apart of each other. Where you would think in Brooklyn, in like a cityscape like this, they would all be next to each other, and they're really not. They're very well spread out. Makes it a little harder for you, the playa, especially if you're trying to do this all solo. Because then you're getting shot from 5 different directions when you're looking at one person.
Heavily armored hostile detected.
There we go. What, are they below us? No. Okay. What was that all about? No, they're too busy fighting the reinforcements. They're not even on me. And remember, this is a tank build, so all this damage, like, they're getting melted pretty quick. Not to mention the status effects, perfectly wicked. Then we have the shock bullets. I'm just sitting here shooting this guy through a freaking tree. Yeah, get a little bit closer, bro. Thank you. Easy peasy.
Hostile supply convoy nearby. Detecting additional hostile contacts.
There's that guy. Wow, they're really taking on this freaking... Really taking on my reinforcements right here in the corner. Dude, they're still on my... Wow. There you go, man. Trying to get them off your back. Holy crap. Where are they at? Okay. Booyah. Oh! Oh, there's three of them right here? Holy crap. Okay, that was fun. Stetus Lapidus. That was pretty crazy. Oh, there he is. Booyah. Dude, there are a lot of these axe guys. Holy moly.
Incoming hostiles detected.
Woo!
Heavily armored hostile detected.
I don't get it. Oh, it's because we're doing the elite convoy at the same time. I was like, I keep clearing ads and keep clearing ads. It's because we're doing both. Oh, shit.
Serious trauma detected.
Oh, that decoy didn't really work. Oh, yeah, it did. Oh. Oh, the boss was the axe guy. That was weird. Gotcha. Just say another convoy detected. Well, there's the control point done. Still. Got it. Where? Where, dude? Of course. In the back.
Detecting additional hostile contacts.
Poke it up. This is ridiculous.
Incoming hostiles detected.
Bro. Woo. Oh, snap.
Vital signs critical.
Oh, it's because there's more. Oh my gosh. Oh, whatever. Oh, whatever. I think this is the last one. Shooting me through car windows. Look at that. Oh my gosh, more enemies.
Detecting additional hostile contacts.
This is insane right now. Bro. Holy crap. Wow. That was intense. GG's. GG's. Wow. Whew, that was crazy. And it still says we're doing a resource convoy. And it still says... Oh, okay. Enter the supply room. All right. We're going. We're going. Jeez Louise. That was intense.
Hostile supply convoy.
All right.
Nearby.
Keep it going. Oh, no. Hold on. No, we're done. Hey, I showed you all 3 builds. I showed you all 3 gameplay. Let me know what build you like and why, and which build you'll be using in the DLC. But I'm Kamikazevondoom. Take care of yourself. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.